room clear. Boop, 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 boo. Boop, 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 boo. Yeah, the light has started to become a little bit brighter now, so it should be good. Should be good. And did this work? Oh man, so slow. Here we go. Are you guys seeing me? Are you guys seeing me? Or am I just talking to myself here? Damn it! Really? Nope. Not doing that. Ah, so I'm talking to myself here. But why? Let's go to the dashboard. Just gonna check real quick. 0 viewers, video preview, offline. No, it works. It works, but it says 0 viewers. What the frick? Bitrate, excellent, blah 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 blah. Details are fine. Everything's all good. Come on. Sad face. Wait, what? Oh, Vandy says, I can hear yourself. I can hear you telling yourself, talking to yourself. Wait, what? Okay, so does this work, or it works? Because I'm seeing Vandy saying no more sad face. It works. Alright, good. So, just to make sure, stream works now, right? If yes, then I continue with the schedule. Smiley face. Alright, it's working. Good, 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 good. We're back. Stuff's working. Hey, meow, 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 meow. Welcome to the channel. Yes, if stream works, Tasty continues. Let me just recap real quick what we did before the stream went all woogie. So basically, I've made 2 sprites, which are just PSD files from Photoshop. If you have a different program, you can do that, like with a PNG or a JPEG, or don't do a JPEG. No one does JPEGs. But you can. Probably. I don't know. I don't use it. So you put your images in your sprites folder, and I made a really simple player and a really simple base tile, and here we are. They are there. And the player has a box collider component on him and a rigid body component. And I froze the Z rotation to make sure that he can't just like spin around uncontrollably, which I don't want. And now I want to do my scripts. So I'm going to double click here, and it's already open and everything. And the way that these scripts work is that they basically represent a class, and a class is kind of like a blueprint for this particular thing. So I'm going to be having a class called player controller, and it's really important that the name of the script, player controller, matches the name of the class, which I already have here. And it's a form of mono behavior. You could write other stuff here, like later maybe I could do some other controller and I could have it learn from the player controller. But for now we're gonna inherit stuff from the mono behavior, which is some sort of built-in thing that has a bunch of methods. And one of those is the start thing. This start thing, everything within these brackets is going to be run when this particular class is started. So like, let's say I have a script on the player. As soon as the player pops into the scene view, then this start thing is going to be activated. And then there's update, which is going to run multiple times every second, depending on how fast the computer is. For now, let's define a couple of things. because this is a player controller. So I want to be able to control, first of all, the movement speed. This is an obvious thing. So, and I want to be able to access it from like everywhere, kinda. So I'm gonna go with a public float variable. And floats are one of the two most common types of number variables. A variable is sort of like a bucket. So I can have a float bucket and I can call it lives, and that gives me the option of putting lives into this float bucket, and I'll show you in a second. But for now, let's just call this one move speed. We could set a default move speed to, I don't know, let's say 5. And whenever I save this script, I don't know, sometimes I have issues and I have to actually manually save all of my stuff, but this is fine. I'm gonna attach it to my player. And you can do that in multiple ways. Like, first of all, you can do like add component like we did before, or you can drag the script onto it here like that, or you can drag your script onto it here like this. I went for the third method because, I don't know, that's what I always do. And as you can see, here is a representation of this script, and the move speed variable that I just made, or we just made, is shown here, and you can like drag up and down. And let's go back here. The reason why I picked float is because that allows you to use point values. Actually, we should always put an F here for that, but I just forgot that because I'm a noob. I could have done with like 5.5 or something. The other number value that you can use is integer. So you have your ints and you have your floats. I'm going to be going with a float. The int is for whole numbers. That would be useful for something like your lives. And the reason why this is important to like understand the difference between a float and an int is that they work differently, and sometimes some particular parts of scripts will only accept floats or will only accept ints. So it's kind of important to kind of realize, what is my number going to be like? Am I going to be using values like 0.5 or 0 point something or 5 point something? Then it's a float that you're going to want to use. And that's what I'll be using here for the movement speed. And now for my second variable, that's going to represent the rigid body that is attached to the player. So it's basically going to communicate with the rigid body that's already attached to the player. So we're going to be able to do stuff on a different script with this one. I'm just going to call it RB2D. It's the not so well known relative to R2D2. And what I'm going to do is, as soon as the player enters the scene, this start method here, and I'm stupidly pointing to my screen and I'm all like, check it out, it's on my screen. So, yeah. This start thing here is going to be run. And I want to set RB2D. I want to set that to the component that's on our player object, and that component is very conveniently a rigid body 2D. As far as I understand, the reason that you want to do it like this in the start method rather than doing it down here in an update or some other place is that it does take a little bit of computer power or something, resources. Pardon me for not knowing all the particular details, but I kind of know the gist of it. So you basically make a reference to it here. Like, every time we type RB2D, we're really accessing the rigid body 2D component on our player object. So I could do something like, let's say, if input dot get axis raw. I've heard something about using get axis raw because it updates better or faster or something, rather than just a normal axis. And horizontal. And let's say if it's larger than 0f. I'll explain in a moment. Basically what I'm going to say here is that if the player has pressed either left or right keys here, then the value of this particular thing here, like this is going to get replaced with a value, a number. And if this number is larger than 0, meaning that someone pressed it, then something's going to happen. We're obviously going to want our object to move. And I'll set the rigid body component velocity dot x, because I want this to be the horizontal movement. I'll set that to a new vector 3. And vector 3s are some sort of representation of 3 numbers like x, y, z. So the first one is going to be move speed, equal to move speed. The second one is going to be our y movement speed. And my y movement speed is going to be whatever it is at the moment, because I'm not actually going to want to set that or change that. And the last one is my z, which should be 0 because we don't really do anything with that. But the thing is, if I had set the y velocity to 0, then if I was falling, I'm pretty sure I have an account. Or are we talking to me? Wait, what? Oh, sorry, I missed a bunch of stuff here. Chili says, get component needs to scan for a particular component type, and that takes a bit of time. So doing that every frame will quickly slow things down, and you don't want that from a performance perspective. Exactly. That was a very good explanation. Thank you, Chili. Mitsaki says, is Visual Studio free to use? It wants me to create an account, but I don't know if it's free. I'm pretty sure it's free. Crazy Banana says it is. Hey, Duskholm. Duskholm, welcome to the channel. He says, I think you need to create an account to log in. And Duskholm says, it's totally free, like MonoDevelop. And Vandy says, yeah, Visual Studio is all free unless your company makes XX amounts of money or something. Very, very specific, Vandy. And Duskholm says, which I prefer to use, but others hate. Crazy Banana says, it's kind of hard to see what you're doing, Tasty, because of the follow thing. Oh, yeah, good point. Good point. What can I do about that? I can't really make this smaller. I'm gonna try something and let me know if it's still readable. If I do this, is the text still readable? I hope it is. I really hope it is. I really, really hope it is. I'm just gonna continue with this real quick to get that there. Boom. Else if. Boom. 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 And essentially, I'm gonna be doing the same down here. I hope you guys can read it. Oh! Snap. Okay. In that case, yes, we'll do what Vandy said. I'm going to do this. There we go. Can you read it now? Hey, Cloudy Games, welcome back. Is this readable? How do I change the size of this? Is this like... Oh, it's the same. Boop, 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 boop. Let's do this. Control, and then I just use the mouse wheel, kind of like I did with the browser. Why does this not work? Oh, probably because of this. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out eventually. So yeah, essentially what I want to do here is I say if the input is greater than 0, then I want to move right, and if it's smaller than 0, then I want to move left, and I just put a minus in front of this one to show that or to symbolize that. I just need to fix this particular part here. So we'll say I'm going to be doing a little bit of copy pasting because it'll make things a lot easier or faster. We'll do that. Now, why does it not work? Cannot modify the return value because it's not a variable. That wasn't... Wait, it is a variable. RB2D? Maybe someone else knows what went wrong here. It's not supposed to not go right. Let's see. Duskcomb says, is this channel what you do, primarily coding for Unity or making things in 3D and adding code, lighting, animation, etc.? Actually, normally what I do on this channel is draw. I have used Unity a couple of years ago, and I kind of forgot most of it, and I kind of remember most of it. I don't really understand why it's saying that it's not a variable. It's supposed to be a variable. I have it here. I can't change X directly? What? I used to do that, though. Are you sure? Chili says, suggestion, use the input as a multiplier for the movement speed so you can have analog control over the movement. Also, that way it requires no logic statement. One line does it all. Yeah, I could do that. But I'm afraid that if I do that, it will be a little less easy to understand reading the code. No, you have to change the complete vector. I had a script like... Hang on a sec. I'm just gonna have a look, because I did this... Whoops. Thunderwork Studio, thank you for following. And welcome to chaos that is me trying to code. I did this earlier today to test it, to kind of make sure that I knew what I was doing. So... why does this not work? Let me check real quick. Assets, why you know there? Did I put it here? I did. One moment. I did a script here that I... Yes, fix. I did this earlier, what? Oh, I get it. I get it. It's me being a moron. And you guys being super helpful. Thank you. This is basically what I'm like when I'm doing stuff that I don't really know 100%. And I was doing this like 2-3 times earlier today to make sure that I actually got this. Chili says, well, it's just multiplication, primary school stuff. The only difference is that it involves multiplying with a possibly negative value, which still shouldn't be hard to grasp. That's true. But I don't, for me, I just really like to have my stuff set up in a way that it makes sense to me, because I do things a little bit differently. So what I want to do here is I'll set it to 0 if we're not moving. Like that. And we'll say 0f, and still keeping the velocity, the y velocity, and still keeping this one at 0, like that. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could use the vector 2, but the thing is, when I'm using the vector 3, it kind of reminds me that, you know, don't modify the z value, which I guess I technically could, but I don't want to. Let's pop on back to Unity and see if this stuff actually worked. It should. Whoa, too fast. So what we did here with the code. Basically tell it, you know, if people are pressing the left or right keys, that could be A, D, or the arrow keys, then move to the right based on our movement speed thing. And if you're not pressing anything, then just halt it completely to give more airspeed. And Leopatam says you should change any physics only at fixed update because physics is simulated with the same frequency. Okay, well, we could do that. Let's do fixed update. And let's change the comment here to fixed update is updated at the same frequency as the physics stuff. Yes, yes. Let's do that. We're gonna... So does this fixed update thing, would that work with a jump button too? I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm trying to have difficulties. Wow, crazy bananas. You're gonna want to read through that again. It says you should write fixed update at void update. Unity really likes that. Okay, good. I'll do that because Unity likes it. Let's go back here. Move speed. Let's not have such a crazy move speed. Let's try with 3. That's probably better. Too slow. 5, maybe. Just keep in mind that... We'll go with 5. That's probably fine. Crazy bananas. The reason why I don't use Control S to save is because it doesn't really always work for me, and I'm not really sure what happened with my Visual Studio, but when I press Control S, it doesn't always save the project, so I have to go to Save All for some reason. But it's true. Always use hotkeys. Cloudy Games. What is this upload to web store stuff you keep talking about? You're gonna have to explain it. Crass is like, Coach Carter, do you think Tasty's gonna use as many bools as I do? Control Shift S to save all. Yeah, I'll do that from now on. Let's see if we can put in a bit of jumping. Same procedure as before. I'm just gonna go with an input dot get button down instead, and there's a jump button. Actually, I don't know if it's spelled with a capital J. I guess I'll find out. But this time I'm not gonna ask if the button is like larger or smaller or anything, because this is basically like a boolean that's either true if the button has been clicked or false if it hasn't. So should be able to do sort of a jumpy thing, but before I do that, I'm gonna need to have some sort of public float variable, and we can call that one jump speed. And we could set it to, I don't know, 5 to begin with. Same thing here. I'm going to want to modify my velocity with the new vector 3. And then my left-right velocity, I don't want to set it to anything other than what it already is. My Y velocity I want to set to my jump speed. And then again, 0 on the Z. So let's see if that worked. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. I need to fix my gravity, but I'm gonna want to stay with the normal gravity stuff. So basically you can go here to your rigid body and say gravity scale. Let's try, I don't know, let's try 2. Oh, I need to do something so that I can't do all these doubly jumpies. Crazy Banana says, why is it that you write F? I write F because it's a float. it's a float value rather than an integer, and I don't know, people decided that when it's a float you should put an F there. Coach Carter says, I don't know how much coding Tasty knows. If he's new, probably. Yeah, I am kind of new. I'm not a great coder. I'm definitely more of an artist. But I figured I wanted to show like a little bit of super basic stuff that... We need more than 2. Let's go with 2.5. That's kind of okay. 3, maybe. And 15 here. I realize that I'm in play mode at the moment and everything's going to be lost, but it's only 2 numbers that I need to remember. Boing. Boop, boop. I probably couldn't fall down here even if I wanted to. Yeah. This is good. So, hopefully I remember the numbers. 3 and 12, I think it was. Maybe. I don't know. So, as it is now, the sprite doesn't really detect that it's on ground. If you... Oh, Vandy says, if you prefab it and then save the prefab on runtime, it's saved. Cool. Normally what I do, like if I change something, I'm usually only changing it in one component. So I tend to just copy component, and then I paste the values after I'm done. That's also a way of remembering. Coach Carter says, bools and ifs are one of those things that make the most sense when you're starting to learn how to code, but get you into the most trouble down the road. Oh, I see. Cloudy Game says, I'm following a Udemy construct course. Cool. Chili says, float can interpret integers, so writing 5 is fine, but if you want to use decimals, you need to specify F at the end so the compiler knows how to interpret the value you've written, because periods are not only used for numbers. Oh. Cloudy Games, can I be mod? No, but thank you for reminding me. I need to mod Krasenstein. Ta-da! Because Krasenstein is a regular, and I talked to him outside the stream, and please don't fight. And that was not an attempt from me to like be mean or anything. It's just that I've been meaning to turn Kras into a moderator, but I just keep on forgetting it. I'm going to want to add an empty object here inside of this little dude here. And I'm just gonna zoom in and drag it down here, because basically what I want is an object that tells me if I'm hitting the ground. So let's call this guy ground checker. And let's go back into the code and add some more stuff. So I'm gonna need a public transform. That's basically like the XYZ coordinates that you can save inside something. And I'll call this ground check. And then I'm going to need a public float ground check radius. And I'm going to need a layer mask, which I'll explain in a moment. Layer mask. What is ground? Boom. And the script here down here should update in a moment. When it's done, it's done. So basically the ground checker here needs to go there, because I'm going to be using it later to kind of know where I want to check the ground. I'm going to be doing like a little circle. And as soon as ground hits that circle, then this guy knows that he's on the ground. Fandy says, Crass is a mod here? I'm out. Oh, you like Crass, and I know it. He's one of the nicest guys. That's why he's like a mod on every freaking channel out there. That's because he's a nice guy. And active and all that. Coach Carter says, Crass gets power drunk. Vandy says, I once specifically asked if I can't be a mod. It took the streamer some seconds to wrap his head around that. Yeah, I bet, says Chili. Hey, Leopodum. Welcome to the channel. He says, better to use private modifier plus serialized field attribute. It will allow you to change field from the inspector, but the field will be hidden from external classes. Yes, I know this. The reason why I'm not doing it at the moment is because it will clutter up the code a little bit too much for new people to understand it. Like if all of the code suddenly has all these things, because I haven't really explained the private public stuff yet. So for now, I'm gonna let it be public, and it's not gonna be a huge problem. I forgot I can't move this. Here's where it needs to be. So in here, I'm gonna need to do a little checker that tests to see if we have hit the ground. But first, I'm gonna need to set it here in my script. And I actually need to add some layers too, just to make sure that stuff is there. So as you can see, these base tiles here, they're default layer. I'm gonna go to add layer and we'll make some new ones. I'm gonna make a ground layer and I'm also gonna make a player layer. And I'll just select all of these tiles here. I could make this a prefab, I know, and with a prefab it would make it all a lot easier. But for now, let's just keep it super simple. Change the tag to ground. And change the player's tag to player. Change the children, yes. And now we are almost done. The player here is 1 width, so I'm gonna need like a circle that's has a radius of half to make sure that it kind of covers all of this. So let me go down here and say 0.5 on that one. Ground here. And let's go back into the code. Lost Thing says, Vandy, that's not even a weird request. And Cloudy Games says, do you like pixel games? Crazy Banana says, this community is nice. I agree. I agree. Do I like pixel games? I do. I just don't like drawing them because I don't know how to draw pixel art. Leopodum says, better to show best practices from scratch. Chili agrees, yes. And Leopodum says, because otherwise noobs will do as you did in the wrong way. If you realize there's a better way, show it. Don't leave us in the dark, man. Yeah. But again, when you're doing code like this, if you put too much stuff in the face of a new person, then that will be confusing as well. And it's not really going to break it. Vandy says, draw all your magic, paste in pixel, scale down, clean up. Oh god, no. No, no, no. No, 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 no. But yeah, like I said, it's been a long time since I worked with Unity. There are certain things that I know how to do and other things that I completely forgot about. Like what I'm gonna do now is something that's a little bit shady. Not shady, but it's like it's been ages, so I don't know exactly if I'm doing it the right way. But I'm gonna want to make it so that actually I need a bool. Oh, I want that one to be public because I want to check that from other scripts. Public bool is grounded. So basically I want to set my is grounded to true or false depending on whether or not that particular circle, the ground checker, whether or not that has hit some ground earlier. Leopodum says, plus comments why you did it in this manner, it will be best. Crazy Banana says, your face is frozen for me. I don't know if screen is too. Oh, I don't know. Am I frozen? I hope not. I hope not. Thank you. Thank you for the follow, Leopodum. He has picked up the sword that I drew. Because I'm a better drawer than a coder. Chili says, it might be a bit too much, then mention that it's for future-proofing and not relevant to the current objective specifically. That way the people that can take in more info still feel well-fed. That's a very good point. That is a very good point. Thank you. Let's do that. So... this one's going to be private. And this one's going to be private. Oops. And this one's going to be private. Because we don't really need to mess with that from outside the script. And then, I forgot, what was it? Serialized field? Yes, it was. Just going to copy this. Will one, like if I do this serialized field here, is it going to affect all three here because there's a new line there? Or do I need to... probably need to do it on all of them. And you know what? If I don't, then someone will tell me in a moment. Basically what we're doing right now is making these three private variables serialize something so that we can see them inside the editor, like this. I'm gonna need unexpected symbol if. Wait, did I start something down here? Oh, I did. Just gonna do that real quick. That's a comment. Boop. So, should be able to run, and they're here, and they're still kept, which is good. Yep. Lost Thing says, it's fine on my end, Crazy Bananas. Try to pause, play the stream. Hopefully that worked. Crazy Banana says, much better. Yay! Coach Carter says, it only affects the one below it. Right. Chili says, tags like serialized field only affects one. And Leopodum says, by the way, you can remove private modifier. It's optional by C# specs for type props. Write private or not, it only depends on code style rules. Yes, I really like to have private written out because, I don't know, I'm just OCD like that. I also prefer, like, I don't like it when the brackets are like this. I really prefer my brackets like this. I know a lot of people don't do that anymore, but I don't know. For me, it's just, I don't know, I just like it. It looks prettier. So that's what I do. Vandy says, nope. If you omit private, they become protected. Which I have no idea what is really, so. But yeah, I'm gonna go with writing private here because that's what I'm used to. So let's get back to this is grounded thing. What I want is to check if the ground is within a circle. And that circle needs to be centered on my ground checker object that I placed at the feet of my character. There's also another way of doing that, but I'm not going to get into that today. And that is called raycasts, where you basically shoot invisible laser beams to a certain point, and then you can check if something hit that. But I like using the circle thing, and I believe it's physics 2D dot overlap circle. Yes, it is. And then when you open these parentheses thingies here, then you can see it kind of shows you the different sorts of info that needs to be put in here. So first off is going to be the location, and that is ground check. And then it's going to need a radius, and that would be ground check radius. And then I'm going to add an extra comma, and as you can see here, it now gives me the option of putting in a layer mask. And I put in a layer mask, so I call that one what is ground. And I can close it like this. And it's complaining. Why is it complaining? It's because it's a vector 2. What? Wait, what? Cannot convert from Unity engine transform to... That's not supposed to happen. Why is that happening? Is that because I used the wrong one here? How do I change it to, like, it has different overloads, so can I change this one to a vector 3? Leopodum says, why not just cast one ray to down direction? It should be faster. Yes. Oh, transform dot position. That's right. My bad. Hey, it's good that I have you guys here. There we go. Now it's worked. I'll show you why I don't just cast one ray down. Let's say my character is here. And let's say he is positioned like this. If my ray is here, then he will fall. He's not grounded. He won't be able to jump. If I cast one ray, then I would need to cast a ray here, and a ray here, and a ray here. So instead of that, I have transform here, which will then ground check on a circle that's like this. Obviously, I'll be able to jump, or, you know, I'll show you. Oops. Once this guy is on the ground, then, you know, it's gonna check is there ground underneath here, and if so, then he'll be able to jump. Not that I did that yet, but I'm gonna do that now, and I'll say double ampersand is grounded. So I'm gonna check if I'm grounded, like that. And now I should only be able to jump if I'm actually grounded. Oops. Spamming the button, and it only lets me jump. But yeah, it will do the jump even though I'm kinda close, but for me that's kind of okay. For now. I like that. Let me just check up on the chat. Coach Carter says, technically it doesn't have to be written, but it's a whole heck of a lot cleaner code to access modifiers. Same thing with if statements without brackets. Just get in the habit of doing it. It makes your code 10 times cleaner and easier to read. I agree. And I need code that's easy to read because I'm not super good at it. Transform does not equal transform. You need transform.position. Yes, ground check.position. Thank you, guys. But with circle, you will start to move outside from the platform. Isn't a collider a better case here? This means you can jump too early due to circle has no corners. That. Aren't there functions for on-collision enter 2D in that? Yes, there are. That would be one step closer to being accurate. Another solution, set platform colliders slightly bigger in horizontal space. If your radial raycast is in the center of your character, you have less overlap. That's a very good point. You guys are clever. Let's do that. Let's pull it up here. Like this. And let's see how it goes now. If I spam the button, spamming. Yeah, much better. But will I be able to jump here? Nope. Here? Still nope. Okay, now I can't even jump. What? Why can't I jump here? That doesn't make any sense. I could do like a... what's it called? Draw gizmo, and then I can actually see where stuff's at. I can't even jump here. What a sucky thing I built. Let's check the chat. Ella Steelart, hello! Welcome to the channel. And Crazy Bananas says hello. Vandy says you made it higher but not bigger. Yeah. Because right now my ground checker radius is 0.5. So that would, and the whole object here is 1, so the circle is like this. Starting here. It should go outside. No? I'm gonna need to turn on the edge overlap thing, but I'm gonna have to I need to code it in to be able to see it. Hey Nabulu, welcome to the channel. Oh, game window, gizmos. That's not gonna change anything because I'm not really drawing the gizmo, am I? Will that work? That would be awesome. No, can't see it. How often does this fixed update stuff get updated? Because it feels a little bit sluggish when jumping. For some reason. I'm not really sure why though. Once a frame. So essentially many times per... Let's see. Wow, that is super crappy. Why do I only have 65 FPS? I wonder if that's because the tablet is turned on and it kind of does stuff to the frame rate. I have a Cintiq. Or because I'm recording or something. I don't know. The jumpy stuff sort of works. Sort of. I'm gonna need to figure out how to get that to work a lot better. Quality options might limit FPS. Oh. Oh. In here? Build? No, wait. Sorry. In here. Project settings, quality. Stuff that I have no clue about. I'm gonna have to look at that some other time. What I wanted to do here was kind of build out a teeny tiny level, but we're gonna have to make a new folder for some prefabs. And prefabs are basically like building blocks. I'm gonna dump my player down here so that I can make changes in case I need to delete a player or have multiple players or whatever. Coach Carter says technically it gets... Wait, what? Leopodum says sync every blank, not sync. Technically it gets called at a fixed interval, which is in edit project settings time. Syncs with monitor refresh intervals. Well, that would make sense but I don't know. I used to have, with just like a fresh Unity install, I used to have like 900 FPS. Which I don't at the moment. So I don't know, maybe they changed something, or maybe I just didn't stream at the time. These base tiles, I'm gonna wanna rename one of these to just base tile. Dump it down here into the prefabs. Delete all these others. Wait, why is there one here? Oh, I didn't even see this guy. Oops. For the time being, it's just gonna be... Oops. simple. That. And then I can always change it later. Like, for instance, it would be a good idea to put all of these inside an empty game object. Just set it to 0, 0. And then I can place these guys into this guy here. We'll just call it map for now, because that way I can do this, so that it doesn't clutter up my my hierarchy. Oh, Vandy says Coach is talking about fixed update. Leo is talking about FPS stuff. Leo says physics simulated always with fixed frequency, by default 50 times per second. It can be changed at project settings time. Leopodum says at stats panel you see rendering frequency, not physics. Yeah, but I was just looking at my like frame rate. I wanted to see what the frame rate was in my game, and it wasn't super impressive, which it normally would be on this computer. So that was a bit confusing to me. I'm just gonna pull a few of these up here just to kind of see how it handles, because normally what I do when I make games is that I really spend a lot of time with the controller to kind of get a feel for whether or not it runs smoothly. And I really don't feel that it runs that well at the moment. It's like I press the button and it kind of doesn't react, and I guess that's because I'm using the fixed update thing. For now I'm just going to change this to normal update, and I'm going to have to fix that later. Because I tested this earlier and it did actually run somewhat smoother. I'm not seeing any changes in FPS, obviously. It is way, way more responsive now than it was before. It reacts as soon as I click the button, and I guess that has to do with the get button down, because get button down only reacts when the button is pressed, and if the button is not pressed down at the exact same moment as an update, then you are basically shit out of luck. And that works with the update, so yeah. And jumping, let's see. I can jump in the air, which is bad, so that needs to be kind of fixed. Crass says, if you want, I can send you my 2D map maker when I get home. Sure, I might. I bought something in the asset store, but I'm not going to be using it for this one here. We need to raise the jump speed a little bit on our player to make him able to get up there. I want to be able to get, let's see, I'm just going to check something. One tile further down, that's not. He needs to be able to jump at least 3 tiles. At least 1, 2, 3. So, go back to the player and set his jump speed to 15. Which should probably be good enough. I should change it down here, but we'll fix it later. Chili says, as mentioned earlier, your project has VSync turned on. It's near the bottom of the quality settings. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Chili. Bottom of quality section. Boom. Whoops. Quality. Bottom. VSync. Don't sync. What do I want to set it to? Don't sync? That makes a bit more sense. Boop. Boop. So, this is a bit too much on the jumpy. Let's try to change it to 13 and see how that goes. 14. getting stuck here. That's no good. This is kind of okay. So 14. Crazy Banana says, Tasty, my friend, I'm sorry, but I gotta go to dinner in like 10 minutes, but I'll be back. Don't worry, you can always watch the VOD or ask me later, and I'll try to help. Thank you for popping by. See you in a minute. 14. Vandy says, I do recommend to set an FPS limit, though. And Chili says, why? Crazy Banana says, and yes, I know it's late to eat dinner. Well, not really. We haven't eaten dinner at home here yet. Coach Carter says, ProGrids is always pretty nice for setting up 2D games. Is that an asset? I'll have to look into it. I don't even I think it's called Rodors, the map engine that I'm using, or the mapper. FPS limit is useful only before release. Last thing says, it's dinner time when you say it's dinner time. Yes, that's right. It is dinner time when you say it's dinner time. I'm gonna go AFK for like, I don't know, 30 seconds. I'll keep the screen up. I'm gonna need to grab a glass of water because I haven't had any and I'm starting to get dry. Be right back. Just gonna mute the mic real quick. And I'm back. And I have water. And that's gonna be good for the voice. Let's see. Leopoldum says, I mean only for production release, no FPS limit, useful at debug/profiling, and well then 2 raycasts, 2 down at the bottom corners with a small offset to center should fix this issue with physics. Chili says, switching between a limited and unlimited frame rate is a good way to check if your game runs independent of time or not. Ideally, it should run the same no matter what. Yeah, that's why I will always use delta time. As Leopoldum says, well, you always should use time.deltaTime or time.fixedDeltaTime in calculations. Yes. No FPS limit is very useful at performance profiling. Bandy says, because there is no reason to render anything over 250. Well, I wouldn't need my computer to work that hard for nothing. That's true. I basically just wanted to make sure that my computer was not broken, because 60 FPS seemed like really not very high. But at least now I know that it works fine, so we should just set it back to sync. Every V blank, I think, was what it was at before. I'll figure it out. Let's see what stats. 65 FPS? Yes. Boop. 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 The thing I have right now, though, with getting stuck in the walls is kind of meh. Me. But I guess I could get around that by using a different sort of collider, and I guess also using a different system, because right now I'm basically setting it so that if you're pressing right, then you move the sprite right, and if I'm pressing left, then you move the sprite left. Ideally for a game like this, if you want to have like a high quality game, you'd want to have, you know, you have your sprite here, then you'd want to have something that tests if there's a wall to the right, something that tests if there's a wall to the left, or whatever direction that you're moving. But yeah, we have a frame rate discussion going on. I'm just gonna open one of my older projects, just so you guys can see the ninja game that I made, or that I was working on and then kind of didn't finish. Bright lights! Gonna take a while to start up. A little bit slow. I can't remember what sort of controls I used for this one. I guess I could check the code in a moment. Coach Carter says, shouldn't physics handle whether or not you can move left or right? Yeah, I guess. I mean, what I did here was make it so that if I got really close, then it engaged wall climb mode. And I don't really get stuck on corners the same way here. And I guess that's because I don't remember if I'm actually using physics for this or if it's just straight code. Oops. Boop. A lot of dying here. Vandy says, yep, but he was running 4K frames there, and I hope to keep this stream stable. I appreciate that. I really don't want to mess up the stream while I'm developing. Boop. No. Chili says, well, a high frame rate just means that the computer is under little stress, not more. Hey, Crass. Crass says, hey, I didn't get to play this level. Hello, the Suicide Heart. Welcome to the channel, man. Yeah, this is like the... Whoops. Strange, secret, testing kind of level. No. Yeah. Nothing special though. Boop, boop, boop. Picked up key. That was kind of weird. He was bumping on the platform. I'm pretty sure that I set some code that kind of fixes or glues him to the platform, but this is like an old Unity 5 project from when Unity 5 was all new, and a lot seems to have changed in that aspect. Coach Carter says, Crash Riot. Crash Riot! Yeah, because he wants to play this level. We could fix that, though, at some point. Whoop. But yeah, I mean, whoa. I wanted to see if I could rebuild stuff from scratch, but obviously the physics and stuff I literally spent 3 weeks or something, testing this every day to kind of get a feel that, or to get stuff that feels right. Boink. And to me, this feels right. No! Oof. Holy crap! Thank you! Thank you for the donation, Suicide Heart. He says, shut the fuck up and take my money! Thank you for giving me your money. I appreciate it. So yeah, this is basically, oops, the platformer that I worked on a few years ago. I did all the code myself except for the actual level editor stuff where I used an asset. So, you know, just so you guys don't think that I'm like that bad, that you know, the thing that I showed you before, I wanted to kind of make something simple to show people how to get into Unity, and then later you can like Google stuff and get better. And obviously this isn't flawless, you know, it's got bugs and a lot of things that I should be doing differently, but it's playable, it works, and whoop. I made this guy so you can approach him from the back and then like take off if you wanted to. You could also just get killed in his face. Coach Carter says, your game has bugs? Gasp. But yeah, the thing is, it's been a while, like literally years since I really worked with Unity, because I had a long break. And I'm trying to get back into it, which I will, obviously. And I was planning on spending this weekend to make this sort of room-based, jumpy kind of game. Which shouldn't be too hard to make, but judging from what you guys have seen on stream today, it's gonna be a little tricky. We could try to, let me just go back to the other project here. The room clear one. I'm gonna try to turn the actual character into having a circle collider. Crazy Banana says, use bug spray. By the way, our food hasn't arrived yet. Oh, you are ordering food. Wealthy people. Oh, I can smell the food in the kitchen right now. So, I'm gonna want to eat soonish. Let's go to the player here. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try to give him a circle collider rather than a box collider. And we'll see if that makes him less annoying. Remove component, add circle collider 2D, like that. At least now he shouldn't get stuck the same way on the corners like he did before. You can still kind of get stuck here on the walls. He's all like, nah, I can hang here. Meow. Rocket science isn't real? But, I thought rocket science was real. And here we see Krasenstein wreck everyone. Let's see. Chili says, didn't John Carmack say somewhere here that he considers game development more difficult than rocket science? But is John Carmack like a rocket scientist? How would he know if he's not? I fell through here. That's bad. let's try something else. I'm going to change this collider here. Like that. And I'm gonna offset it a little bit. Like this. Actually, not that much. More like this. The problem is I went with like a square guy, and you really shouldn't do that if you are planning on making a game like I'm making. And then I'm gonna add a box collider. Actually, no, I'm just gonna keep it like this. It's fine. Nice! Cloudy Game says, I finished my Udemy course. Good job. Suicide Heart says, why do you ignore my messages? Sorry, am I ignoring your messages? I need to scroll up. Oh! Suicide Heart says, hey, Tasty Graph, could I possibly get the code and study it? Yeah, sure. My code is bad, though, but yeah, sure. Boop. 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 Boop, 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 boop. Now he's kind of above the ground just a little bit, but you know what? It's fine. Oh, he was able to jump from here. Why was he able? Oh. Oh, I know. It's because I made the collider slightly smaller here. And then the circle that detects still kind of goes outside of there. No good. Let's change the radius on this thing here. Right now I'm kind of just playing around with the numbers to kind of get a feel for good jumping. Rocket surgery is... Oh. Wait, what? Chat's going too fast for me. Crazy Banana says, I'm pretty new to Unity and that was a bit too fast for me to learn a lot from, but this is still hella fun. Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm not really... It's not teaching as much as more like showing, and then you can go back and watch it again if you want to, but it's not like in a tutorial fashion. Krasenstein says, no, rocket surgery is goddamn difficult. Have you ever tried to add a fully functioning arm to... My chat client keeps scrolling. No! Have you ever tried to add a fully functioning arm to the side of a rocket? Didn't think so. Chili says it's a bad precedent, or however it's... Isn't it called predecessent? I don't know. It doesn't matter. We know what you mean. Set in other streams where people are learning or teaching things. Instead of being understanding, they... Yeah, sorry, but it's been scratching my mind a lot recently. Oh, did I miss something here? Just because you use the wrong word, people dismiss anything you say, and it's honestly pissing me off. Oh, I get it. It's... Yeah. I mean, there are some people who are super pedantic, and, you know, you just gotta shrug it off and don't worry about it. Yeah. Cloudy Game says, is that Sonic? It could be. What does my Spotify say? Green Hill Step. Green Hill Zone. Game Chops. Dejo. Spin Dash. That could probably be something Sonic related. Let's hope it doesn't flag, because this is a Twitch FM playlist, so it better not flag my stream, or I'm gonna be very, very, very unhappy. Coach Carter says, Chili, what are your thought processes on the teaching, etc.? I've considered pivoting to my stream Mostly educational, similar to Brackies. Coach Carter says Green Hill Zone is definitely Sonic. Okay. 100%, says Crash. Chile says, Coach Carter, I'm not familiar with Brackies, but what I do, the little that I stream Gamedev, is to focus on the chat as much as possible. I do it almost to the point where I get nothing done because I keep addressing what people are saying and asking. Yeah. I think that's really important. Take care, Cloudy. See ya. Suicide Heart says all human bodies were switched out with rockets, so they had arms, legs, etc. Wow, that is... I don't get it. Maybe I shouldn't get it. Now, I would like to at least finish the frame of this level, and we're just going to be doing it like old school, like this. Control D and then pull it up here. Oop. Control D here. Am I? Oh, I am. Good. I'm just gonna copy paste these real quick. It's not super efficient, but I would like to be able to finish this one. Boop. There. We has level. And we can put this guy down here. Have him start here. Ando says, do you think a Razer i7 something something can handle Unity if I make a game? Honestly, I have no idea because I don't know that computer, but I hope so. For you, so that you can do that. And hey, welcome to the channel, Ando. Chili says, Coach, though I think at least showing quick examples of what can go wrong is good. Teach people what's a sign of something going bad. Brackies doesn't tutorial. Coach Carter says Brackies doesn't tutorial sessions, kind of like Unity Tech, where they cover a specific process, like how to make Angry Birds, etc. Coach Carter says, "Can I run to the top of the bricks at the top like Mario?" No, you cannot, because this is going to be sort of like you have a room and then you clear all the enemies out of it, and then portal spawns, you pop into it, and that sends you to the next level. Kras says, Ando, there's only one way to find out if it can run Unity. Yes. And that is to run Unity. Or try it. Luckily, Unity is free. Crazy Banana says, Tasty! The giant pile of food has arrived at the doors of my house. It is time to feast of the dead. Wow. That was morbid. That went bad real quick. Enjoy your food, Crazy. I'll see you later. And thanks for popping by. As always, you guys can join on the Discord if you want to. I'm gonna pop the link in here. This is basically where we hang out and do Discord-y things like chat or share images. Normally, I don't do a whole lot of code. Normally, I'm more of an artist kind of guy. I'm not really a great artist either, but I'm average at a lot of things, and I try to teach myself, and you guys should do the same if you want to get better. There's really no way around it. You just have to practice, practice, practice. And I've practiced my art a little bit more than I practiced my coding skills. Coach says, lol, Discord, where you do Discord-y things. Kras says, not a great artist? Liar. But it's true. And it's kind of the same if you're a programmer and you're kind of at an average level, then you compare yourself to people who are above your level. And people above my level in arts would say the same. And I'm not trying to fish for compliments or anything like that. That's that's just the way it is. And speaking of art, I really want to change these tiles. So I'm going to show you why we turn the tiles into PSD files. Because then we can... Is Photoshop not opening? Ah, there we go. Crass says, I'd say I'm an expert at the beginner level. Well, yeah. Let's start by making new tiles. I'm gonna rename this to flat color. I'll show you guys later why. Just gonna delete all the color from here, and this is gonna be the sketch layer. Gonna delete stuff here. Basically what I want here, see, I cleaned up all my pencils and stuff. I'm gonna go with my sketch pencil. I'll make it a little bit smaller, and I want sort of like a stone texture. You guys have seen it in other games. Chili says, Coach Carter, I'm actually a 3D hard surface modeler primarily, and I like to delve into shader creation and gameplay creation. My coding knowledge is by no means pro level, but I feel like I'm getting to the point where I can consider myself competent. And Leopodum says, can I request your feedback about open source library for Unity? Crass says, I've got lots of stone textures in my game. Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be like... I guess this tile I'm imagining is gonna be something like this, where you've got a border here. And then kind of 3 bands like this, like the traditional Mario ones. But then I like to add in a bit of extra, like you know, there's going to be a couple of stones and kind of breaking it up a little bit like this. Just try not to have, for instance, stuff like that. That kind of breaks it a little bit. So we could do that and this. So you don't have like too many lines that are completely similar. I like to just sort of casually sketch out these things here. And it doesn't really have to be what's it called? It doesn't have to have like brick-shaped bricks if you don't want to. If you wanted to, you could have L-shaped bricks. It's really just a matter of preference. And it's going to be super simple. So let's just say now I've decided that this is what I want my tile to be. Leopodum says, Tasty Graph, it was a question for you. Okay, well, so yes, you can request my feedback about open source libraries, but I don't really, I mean, I don't use them because I don't know a lot about them. I used to use something called iTween, I think. Coach Carter says, Chili? Gotcha. Yeah, I've found a lot of Twitch game development consists of people who've taken it on as a hobby. As a programmer by trade, I find that a decent number of streamers end up making what I call the swamp because they haven't/don't know where to learn best practices. Yeah, I mean, that's what I tend to do. Like, I start a project and then I just completely feature creep and break my will to live. Let's open this thing here from Leopodum and have a look. Tools library for Unity 3D game engine. Analytics, animator, graph helpers, serialization JSON, localization, event routing, event bus, embedded scripting, new system UI tweaks, tweening, in-memory protection, and other helpers. Pure C#. I mean, a lot of things here seem really, really fancy. For me, it's overwhelming. I wouldn't know what I'm really looking at here. I know it makes sense if you're a programmer, like, you know, pooling is important because it has to do with, like, prefabs that get broken, or sorry, objects that are spawned, instantiated, and then taken out again, and that kind of kills memory, and you need to have pooling to avoid that. Personally, I don't really know a whole lot about it, and yes, that will hurt me in the end, but you know, I got to start somewhere and kind of work my way up. I think it's awesome that you're making this though, Leopodum. I think it's really cool, and I'm definitely gonna save this one into my game design bookmark thingy. Thank you. Ando says, oh wait, sorry. Crass says, I ate so much chili Wednesday for lunch. It was so awesome. Yes, I love chili. Ando says, where do you think it's the best place to learn how to program in Unity? And Coach Carter says, actually, let's go to the response to that. Crass says the real best place to start is unity3d.com. Yeah, they've got good tutorials there, and you can always kind of expand upon that later. There's YouTube as well, a bunch of people that are really good there. Coach Carter says, the swamp being code that gets harder and harder to maintain and implement new features as time goes on, because the legacy code is so fragile and finicky. Yeah, I've experienced that. I mean, I did spend a lot of time getting on my platform project, and I kind of tried to encapsulate my code, like take stuff out of a huge script and turn it into something that works on its own. And yeah, but it did take a while to do that, and I need to get a lot better at it too. Chili says, Coach Carter, yeah, I see what you're saying. I've been blessed with having a friend that's into coding as much as I am into 3D modeling, so I learn a lot of best practices with the whole artist-to-coder workflow from working on projects with him. I prototype various features and assets, and then send it off to him for cleanup and proper implementation. Coach Carter says, I'm making a sweet chipotle pulled pork for tonight. Can't wait. That sounds awesome. That sounds really good. And Crass says, Cupcake and I will be right over then, Coach. Whoa. So, just out of curiosity, do you guys actually live near each other, Crass and Coach? Or are you just kidding around and being all goofy goofbally? I'm gonna do like a few nicks and scratches on this just to kind of break it up and make it not quite as boring, these tiles. And again, I'm not really looking at reference here, so you know, bear with me. But let's say this is fine, then I'm gonna go here and I'll turn the opacity down a little bit, switch to this layer, we'll call that one ink. And then I'm gonna switch to my ink pen, which is definitely way too thick for this. Now I'll start by doing sort of like a box here. Normally when you're doing tiling tiles, you would ideally want to make them like pure tileable by doing offsets here in the middle, but I don't really feel like doing that today because I don't think that it fits the art style that I'm going for. Oh, okay. Coach Carter says he lives probably 14 hours away by car. And Crass says 12 hours. Darn. 13 it is. Crass says, you think I drive slow for food? Cool. Oh lord. That emote, says Chili. Yeah, it's a crazy emote. It's the drunk dev one, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. So anyways, I'm just gonna do this here, kind of draw him up, and it doesn't really matter if your hand is shaky or anything, because mine is. But yeah, I'm gonna draw up these tiles here, and for now, just don't worry about having sort of like a sketchy line. It doesn't really, it'll be fine in the end. Trust me. Boop. because I'm going to be doing stuff to the corners as well to kind of round out these tiles here. We'll do stuff like this. Oop. Needs a little bit of darkness there. So what you want to do is try to round out your tiles a little bit like this at the corners. And then once you've done that, you can kind of wear them a little bit, but don't do too much with the dark, with the line art stuff here. Actually, that was kind of bad. You can just grab an eraser and kind of do little nicks. Let's randomly pop a few here. Boop, boop. I rarely think about the stuff that I like when I do these things. I don't really plan it out, and you kind of should, so you could do it like on a piece of paper or something similar. Boop. Yeah, so this is sort of the basic line art, and then we've got the flat color, and I prefer not to go with like gray stuff. I like to have a little bit of color in it, so let's say I wanted sort of a darky, bluey kind of tile, or something like this. Just make sure that there's just like a teeny tiny little bit of color in it still. Otherwise, you'll end up having something that really doesn't look that interesting. And fill it in here, boom. And then we're gonna add a layer on top of that, which is the shadow layer, as some of you have seen in previous streams, the way that I do this. Shadow. Let me just check up on the chat real fast. Oh, Nightbot says drink water. Coach Carter says it's cruel though, since it's slow cooked and I can smell it all day. Yeah, the downside about slow cooking and working from home. Yep. Hmm? Yes. Ah, that water. So good. So, I added this layer. We called it the shadow layer. I'm just going to pick something dark, bluey, purplish, like this. Fill it, and then set it to 40% opacity. Like that. And then I'll use the lasso tool on it to, you know, kind of carve out the shadows. Or, sorry, the highlights, and delete it. So it'll look something similar to... Oops. Here we go. So it'll look something similar to this. Actually, I want a little bit of shadow still here from that tile, so I'll fill that back in like that. And it'll sort of give it like a 3D feel. I'm gonna add an extra shadow layer afterwards to kind of punch it out just a little bit more, but this is more to show you like how you can get a fairly decent result in a short amount of time, and we all like to work fast. Or I do anyway. Oop. Look, it's getting faster and faster. No, that's just me being impatient. I forgot something here. There we go. Back to the shadow layer. Chili says, Coach Carter, about the swamp earlier. I have definitely been there. The first project of any considerable complexity I took on was making my own car physics solution in Unity. After trying to add code correcting previous code in a chain of 3, I said, F it, and started over, splitting things up from the start to prevent those issues later down the line. Yeah, good idea. Chili says, now almost a year later since my rewrite, the structure has remained the same, which I'd call a win. Definitely. If my code is the same for more than like 6 months, then I probably didn't code it. There we go. So I'm just going to add a new layer. I'll place it here. And fill it with color. Boom. 40%. There we go. And I'll carve a bit more highlight on this one. So something like this. And the same here. So I'll just kind of put it on top of these things here, like that. Oops. And again, it's not really super planned out. Like my, oops, that actually needs to be more like there. Again, I'm just sort of doing it where I think it should be, where I think it sort of feels natural to have a little bit of highlighting. And my light source is obviously a bit like coming from above on this particular thing here. Whoops. There we go. It doesn't look super, but it also doesn't look bad. And let's say you want to add just a little bit extra to kind of make them have a little bit extra shine. You can always change it. Go to the white color and add in just a little bit. Not everywhere, but to kind of break it up just a little bit. And I'm gonna zoom in a bit and do a few scratches here. And then after I've done the scratches, I'm going to darken it just a little bit under them. So what are you guys up to? Other than thinking about food and hanging out in chat. I know that Crass is at work, but when he gets home, he's probably going to be working on his dungeon crawler, which got greenlit not long ago. Super awesome. So, let's save this one. Control S to save it, and Unity's going to auto-update. Boom. We has tiles, which are, in my opinion, too detailed for this particular level of distance. Like when you're this far away, you really want to maybe not have as much detail. I think one way to fix it could be to make these not quite as uniform. So I'm going to go to the ink layer and just add in a little bit here. Whoops, like that. I'm just going to kind of roughen up the edges just a little bit to kind of make them seem seem like they're not quite as square, because that was actually not very pleasing to the eye. Kitty cat in the back. Oh! Crass says, I leave for 5 minutes and this already looks amazing. Thank you. Welcome back, man. Chili says, kind of going into lurk mode and chatting with other people. That's fine. That's fine. I'm glad you're here, though. Leopodum says, strange dark part should be at top side, light at bottom, light from top to down, bright part. Wait, what? Oh, so on these lights, the dark part should be at the top and the bright part should be at the... Oh, right. Actually, that does make sense. And it's kind of strange because this is like the mistake I always do. Let's try something here. Just going to invert it. Because if I invert it, then I only need to fix these parts here. Yeah, that actually fixed it. This is something I really need to make sure that I keep remembering in the future. About the scratches, that is. Dark at the top and brighter at the bottom. If the light comes from above. Good thing I have you guys to point that stuff out. I don't know why I keep doing it, though. I did the same mistake. I was following a course the other day, and I uploaded an image, and I was like, something's wrong about these highlights, and yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know the highlights up here were right, but I just flipped it around to make it look a bit better. The small concave scratches, I don't know what those are. This is probably going to look a bit weird once we get to the... when I watch this image inside of Unity, because it's kind of being zoomed out a bit, so it might not look good. I don't know. We'll figure it out. For now, I'm just going to put a little bit of lights here just to kind of, I don't know, see if it actually pops or not. But at least now... Ouch. My back. At least now I just need to do these things here. I just want to make sure that this is kind of fixed before the stream ends. Just to see if that will kind of kill off that super square look that it had previously. That was kind of doing my head in. Let's try to save it now and have a look. Concave surfaces pick up light from the opposite direction. Did that even update? Oh, it did. But it's kind of zoomed out, so it doesn't really show. Or, sorry, zoom. Very pixelated. Yeah. This is good enough for now. For me. Yeah. Liu says the highlights were correct. Small concave scratches wrong. Yeah, but that's why I just inverted it, because it was a lot faster. Chile says, I'd probably make the scratches mostly darker and only a tiny bit of highlight because parts would be self-shadowed. Leopodum says, by the way, nice skills. Almost all coders can't create 2D content and vice versa. Needs more pixels. Yes. It does get downsampled in Unity, but I think it has to do with something here. Trilinear. Actually, trilinear or bilinear is kind of the same. I did set the pixels for Unity to 256, so we should have 256 pixels here on one unit. Why am I not getting that? I mean, if I go to the scene view, then it should be fine. But in the game view, because the game view is zoomed out, then it won't look as well. In the scene view, it's kind of fine, but you're really seeing it from this distance, and that's why it looks kind of weird in the game view, because game view has like a fixed distance. Crazy Banana says, I'm done feeding off the dead. I think I'm a necromancer. Anyway, I feel very dead inside. Get it? Because I ate the dead. I'm so funny. Yeah. Krasenstein says, Leopodum, I get that you said most, but I do disagree. I'd instead say coders that don't have to also do art. Wait, what? Necromancers don't eat the dead. Maybe. Hungry necromancers might do that. Chili says, I think you're getting 256 by 256. Better question is, how large is the image in Photoshop? It's 256 by 256. In Photoshop. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure that's what we set it to. Yeah. 256 by 256. I am getting what I want, what I needed to get. It's just that when I'm in the game view, then if I zoom in now, it essentially just large, like scales up the pixels. Whereas if I'm in the scene view and I zoom in, it shows me the actual pixels on this thing here. It could be that I just thought of something like the what's it called? The thing where it has multiple levels of detail. What's it called? Or is that only, I guess it's only applicable to 3D models, like levels of detail. I'm pretty sure, MIP maps, yeah, but there aren't any MIP maps, so it's fine. It's turned off. But in 3D mode, it would have been turned on. You didn't eat people, so you're just a carnivore. A meat eater. Yeah. Crazy Banana says, nope, I think I'm a necromancer, if I gotta be honest. We'll let him be a necromancer. Chili says, mipmap, it looks like that brick texture has it disabled. Otherwise, it would have had a mipmap slider right above the preview. Yeah. I think that's how it was in Unity 3D originally, when it didn't have a 3D/2D mode. That back then you kind of had to go in and do all these things manually, but now they've made it so that a lot of the stuff is set up for you when you start, which is really nice. I just forget that it's like that sometimes. Boop. You need faster speed. So slow. Too slow. Krasenstein says, meep meep maps. Meep beep. There we go. I like this speed better. It makes it look a little bit, I don't know, just looks smoother. Boing. 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 Getting stuck in stuff. can't even remember how I fixed that originally, but I'm gonna have to look into it. Yeah, I stick to the walls. It's really annoying. Don't force me to mip your maps, Krasen, says Chili. What I would like to do next, after I've eaten food, and maybe I'll start the stream afterwards. I don't really know. I've had a work day as well, but I'm kind of thinking I would like to add mobs and then use the raycast so that we can kind of get into that, and we'll see how that goes. It'll probably be an interesting experience as well. But yeah, for now I'm gonna need a break and have something to eat and rest my head a little bit. I can hear that my girlfriend is in there eating. If you guys want to hang out on Discord when I'm not streaming, feel free to join the Discord. It is right here. I want to thank you all for popping by, and I appreciate all the help that you guys have given so far on the project, or on the code, on the lack of code, etc. You know what I mean. And I want to give you guys a heads up about next week. Next week I have... Sorry, not next week, but the week after. I have vacation from my work, and I'll be doing a lot more streaming. Crass says, you can never mip my maps. I work in pixel art. We can mip your maps. We know where your maps are. We'll mip them. We'll mip them good. Crazy Banana says, is this the end? It's not the end of the world, but it is going to be the end of this stream. But I want to thank you guys for popping by. I hope I'll see some of you on Discord, or all of you, or more than all of you. No, that's not even possible. I'm just being silly. I'm gonna go grab something to eat. I'll let you guys know on Discord if we start the stream again. And thank you all so much for popping by, and thank you to all the new followers. I appreciate that you pressed the follow button. And thanks a ton to the Suicide Heart for donating $2. That was freaking awesome. Any donation is freaking awesome, and it will go towards paying for the pop filter for my microphone that I just ordered. Thank you guys for popping by. See you soon. Bye-bye.